Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
Recognizing that everything that is unfolding in our life is not from us as individuals, as small self, but that divine presence within us and as us, moving through and as us into the world of form. And so anything that's happening out here, to God be the glory. So think about 11 years ago. Do you think of where you were 2013, anytime in 2013? Can you catch on to 2013? Has it changed? Has your life changed in 11 years? Life has been changing, huh? I think of one of our original members was Lindsay Kreml, who comes, as you know, with her wife and her 4 children. But when she was here our very first service. She was here with Lily. It was just Lindsay and Lily, and now it's the whole big family. It's awesome how much life can change. So I was thinking with you, what can happen in 11 years, and just where we were 11 years ago. And I just obviously have to give love to my beautiful husband, who we would not be here if it weren't for him playing the awesome music and lifting people up. And Julian, he's not here today, but he's a college kid, so it was Saturday night last night. However, he left me a very gruff voicemail this morning. Hi, Mom. Just want to wish you a really happy 11th anniversary. He's always with us. This is his home. He was our first greeter, stood at the door and greeted everybody with programs. Actually, he helped set up chairs and then did the greeting. So it was a family affair from the beginning. And I just was thinking of, like Lindsay was here. Some of you might know some of the people here that first service, Michelle Schmidt, Wayne Line, Jim and Susan Duthie. Do some of you know of some of these people? Edie Nelson. And then we just continue to evolve. And I was thinking about what it is about these 11 years that I'm most grateful for, and of course it's the relationships. The people that have come in this community, every one of you have been precious in my life. I especially love getting to know you in classes because I really get to see your journey and my journey, and we interact, and we've had so many people come and go, but I'm so grateful that people who have been here in the past who don't come here come and show up every now and then on a Sunday and say hello. They just drop in for a hello. I get phone calls. I have tea. I have lunches. That once we connect in spirit, those relationships are eternal. And so for every relationship that I've had in this gorgeous and beautiful community, I am so profoundly grateful because these are the most sacred relationships, relationships that are in God, right? But I was thinking there's two really significant things for me about the memories, and I just want to share these two. One was, and some of you may have heard this before when I've told the story on other anniversaries, because it was so important to me. We had been doing services pretty spontaneously every week, and it was about a year into doing these services that we were out at one of Jack's gigs, a bunch of us who were at the center, and Beth Stiles and Jeff Fisher were over in the corner talking, and then they came over to me and they said, Harriet, we really think it's time to have a board and create a structure because we were so ad hoc almost. And because of that one conversation, we got a board, and we became part of Centers for Spiritual Living in a nonprofit organization, and Beth Stiles was the president, and that was a huge job, and I'm so grateful that she said yes. Jeff was, I believe, the treasurer. Gloria was our secretary. Gloria is still on our board. Original board member and still with us, holding down the fort of what the heck we're doing. So for all the people, I just wanted to say what I loved about it and why that is so significant, because up until then it was kind of like my church or Jack's and my church or our family's church. In that moment, people in the community said, no, this is our church, and this is what we think needs to happen. And then they created the board. You need to know my background as a psychology major. I did mostly working with youth, and then I started working with in psychiatric hospitals, as a mental health worker, and then I worked in churches, but always in the ministerial part, not the business part. So I have zero business training. So there was a talk where we listened to that surrender. I just had to surrender that this vision that God, this is God's community, not my community, and that Spirit was going to bring forth people with extraordinary integrity. If I have to say one overarching quality of all the people who have served on our board is this extraordinary integrity. And they have handled the finances of this center with that integrity, with that love, with that joy. And I just feel so blessed because I'm not overseeing the money because I don't know. I can't say, oh, this is better or this. I don't know. But I trust the people who are on our board. So thank you. To all your board members, we are here because of you as well. And anyone who's served on the board, if you're online, put your hand up. Anyone here in person, if you've ever served on our board, can you stand? Please. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All amazing people. And there's so many more. The other significant moment was, when we first started, I'd say the first 2 or 3 years, I was speaking most Sundays. I hadn't learned the power of guest speakers yet, which I now really love. But I was speaking every Sunday, and I was teaching. I was the main teacher of classes. We didn't have all these glorious practitioners to teach. So I was sort of the focal point. And I'll never forget, but we're getting to know each other, and I'll never forget the moment. I still remember it. I was on Facebook, and we've all friended each other on Facebook. And then there was this group of people from the Lighthouse who were talking about a dinner they had been to, and what a great time they had. I'm like, oh, they had a dinner without me. What the heck? And it was the moment that I knew, this is our community. It's no longer just about me. And that was the greatest joy. Because the Lighthouse community, though there might be some of us who you see quite a lot sort of in the spotlight, this is all of our community. And every time you step and participate in any way, in classes, in greeting people at the door, picking up things on the floor, whatever you're doing, thank you. And this is your community. And every time you participate, we feel that energy. That energy connects us together. When you reach out to someone and ask them how they are, that is community. And this Lighthouse community is the Divine's community. And it brought all of us here. We all have different roles to play, but it's the same presence in me and the same presence in you, and it's brought all of us here together equally. So thank you, Lighthouse community. This is all of our celebration. This is all of our anniversary. Whether this is your first week here or you've been here since the beginning, we're all celebrating the fact that the divine presence brought this community into fruition. So thank you. And the community isn't just a community for the sake of community. We're a community about spirit, about becoming more and more these beautiful, the title of that little pamphlet from Emmett Fox. First of all, I just have to say, this little pamphlet I love, and it was just mailed to me. My first husband, who is a CSL minister, who I love and adore, he just mailed it to me because I just found this in my stuff. This is from like 20 years ago. So it was like getting this little present, like, ooh, and it was so good. And what he's saying is that we're all wonder childs. That's the title of the book. And what he's saying is about this mystic power. And this is what we're here about, what we're about. We're here to connect, but we're here to connect in that mystic power and to let it transform our lives. And it always will. It's not like we arrive. It's forever transforming our lives. So this month we've been talking about enlighten up, to become awake and conscious in spirit. And so the first Sunday we were talking about God first. Putting our practices, our love for the divine presence first every day. That's the most important thing we do. No matter what else is happening in our life, no matter what our emotional challenges, no matter how sleep deprived we are, no matter how busy I am, we get to the point where there's nothing that comes before the source, because it's the source of all of that. It's the source of our busyness. It's the source of our emotions. It's the source of our physical vitality. So when we put God first, that divine presence, I'm saying God, but remember, whatever language or word works for you. I'm not attached to that being the word, it's just the one I'm most familiar with and comfortable with. But whatever that, putting that divine presence first every day through spiritual practices, that's a tangible way to say, this is the most important thing in my life. And as we heard in that reading today, when we start to do that, our life transforms. I love that awareness because that's how I experience it in my own life. When I put God first, and we started doing these spiritual practices every day, or as much as I could at first, it becomes a way of life. So yeah, I had shared that right after I did that, I had a big vision, but that actually didn't really have a huge impact on, it was impactful inwardly, but outwardly didn't change anything. And in fact, nothing changed externally. Everything stayed exactly the same. I was doing my spiritual practices, and for those of you who were here for that Sunday, I'm not going to rehash it, but I was in a relationship with a young man, and that was causing me emotional. I didn't change that. I was still in a relationship with him. Everything was exactly the same. The only thing that was different was that I was now putting this God presence first through my 3 spiritual practices: meditation, journaling, and exercise. And about 3, so that started January 1st, and in March, there was a woman I was in school with and taking classes with at a New Thought church called Santa Anita. And I was thinking about this today. It's funny how life changes. I was in my mid-20s when this was happening, and I thought she was so old. And I think she's younger than I am now. Yikes! Age really starts playing games with you. But at the time, she was this very old person who had a lot of wisdom. And she said to me, she goes, "Harriet, you've really changed. What have you changed? What have you done different?" And I said, "I haven't done anything different. Everything's exactly the same." And so I didn't know what she was talking about. She goes, "Well, you're just so peaceful. There's this flow moving through you." And I was thinking, what is she talking? And I thought, oh, I'm putting God first. We start transforming in ways that we can't even begin to imagine. And that kept happening, and then I ended up working at the psychiatric hospital, loved it, was just having the best time being of service. It was great to be of service in spirit. I was also happened to be dating a lot, which was really fun, and a lot of friends. It was just, everything was abundant and flowing. Put God first. I wasn't trying, I wasn't like, this is what I want, I was just surrendered. God's will. I wasn't even saying God's will. I was just saying, I'm putting God first. That was my only intention, that spirit was the most important thing in my life. And everything started unfolding, and then I got my call to ministry, went to Agape, which is a community in Los Angeles, ended up working at Agape, getting involved in that community, having amazing experiences there, growing, being grown, being pushed, and then becoming a pulpit minister. And as I've mentioned, I am my biology is very, not just introverted, but shy. You can be introverted and not shy, but I was very shy. So even if I was with people, it took a long time before I felt comfortable to socialize. I was very quiet. So even as I'm going through classes, I'm getting to know the people in classes. I don't say a word in classes, or hardly anything. In fact, when I was a kid, there was a girl across the street. She was mean. She used to tease me. And she said, "All you have to do is say hi to Harriet." And she starts crying. I didn't like it because there was some truth to it, and I didn't like that. But even within my own family, I didn't like when they all looked at me. They called me an ostrich, because if they all asked me a question, I would hide, because I couldn't stand people looking at me. Look at my job now. For some of you were there in 2015 when my brother George came to visit. And when he started talking, he started crying, because he's like, "I can't believe this is my sister." So when you hear that in that wonder child, that when we give our life to Spirit, we become a person we almost don't recognize. What I'm doing today is so antithetical to who I have been. I'm still me. It's not like I've become a whole nother person, but the way I show up in the world is so different. And it's been a journey. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm so comfortable being in front of people, or I'm so comfortable being center of attention. I've had to work on it and struggle and get scared and do things you don't like because I'm afraid and all of these things. And it's not over. It's not like it's ongoing. It's forever transforming. But transformation before manifestation, when we put the divine presence first and we do our spiritual practices first, we will start to transform, and then the manifestation follows that. And what I love, as it says in this pamphlet, that we don't have to be in control. We can surrender to this presence and we give it our burdens. That's why he's saying no matter what's going in your life, no matter what's happening, it transforms us immediately, the moment we accept it, the moment we surrender to it. And that reminds me of something that Shunryu Suzuki says in Zen Mind, Beginner Mind, at the very beginning of his book. He's a Zen teacher. He came over from Japan in the late 50s, and he was here for about 12 years before he went to the other side. And he landed right in Haight-Ashbury. So it's a very different culture. And so he's teaching Zen, and where Haight-Ashbury in the 60s is very loosey-goosey, he's like, no, your posture matters. How you are in your body matters. And I've always thought he was a little bit too strict, but I finally got it. That regardless of getting out of the rigidity of how your body has to be or not be, his point is that where our body is spirit. There's a Zen saying, if you see Buddha walking towards you, kill him. And I've always hated that saying because it was so violent. And I didn't totally get it. I'm like, if Buddha's coming towards me, I'm going to bow down and open my heart. But the idea, what he was trying to, not just see the Zen teaching that teaches this, is that there's nothing real out there. And if I think that there is something real out there, I've disconnected from my presence here. That everything that is real and alive is here. Anything that we think out there is real is a concept. It's a concept I have about Buddha. So I'm bowing to a concept of a Buddha, but it's not the living Buddha. The living Buddha doesn't emerge. It only emerges out there in a real form is when it emerges first within us. So this is very similar to the Christian teaching of the kingdom of heaven is within us. That when we're thinking about God as a concept, or we're thinking about God in the future, or we're thinking about God in all these different ways out there, we're actually thinking about concepts and it's not alive. The only place where spirit will ever be alive for any of us is inside, right here in our heart. We want to connect with people. We want to feel that deep, intimate connection, but it doesn't come from grasping out there. I want to be connected to you. That's what I was experiencing as I was shared in that first Sunday service. I was so hungry for connection that I was holding on to my boyfriend so heavily because he was very loving. He was just so loving, and so I didn't know else how to get it. But the more I put the divine presence first, the more I got deeper and deeper, that relationship became actually more loving, and I was free. I wasn't grasping anymore. I didn't need it from him because it was becoming so much a part of who I am, and it was peaceful. It wasn't like strenuous, and I got to do this, and I got to do all this work, because up until then I was trying to fix it with all the principles that I knew and all the things I was trying to make it work. Just surrender. It's right here. Our body is the vessel for spirit. So our body is sacred. Our body is sacred. Our body is sacred because this is where the living spirit is, right here. So you may have heard about the Holy Grail. I was asking Jack about Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I know it's supposed to be funny, but I haven't actually watched it. But the idea, right, is my understanding is that in the Arthur legend, that there's these guys who are chasing after the Holy Grail. And in fact, that actually apparently, I don't know if it's true, happened. The Crusades were finding the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is like the ultimate. And they're trying to find this ultimate grail, and of course they never can because they're always looking out there. They said, Spirit hid it in the place we would never look, which is within us. We are a holy vessel. So whether you call it a cauldron, a vessel, a chalice, I'm calling it a golden chalice today, that we are that holy chalice. And it's a mystery. As we look at what a chalice even means, there's so much mystery around it, because what's interesting about the Spirit, it's not only within us, it's also, we're not only the container for the energy of Spirit. Spirit is the container for us, the body. So it's in and out. There's that. I was thinking about when I was walking over here, and I didn't have time to look it up, but in St. Thomas's Gospel about the within is with the out, and the external is the internal, and the male is not female, and the male is female, and the female is the male. Basically, it's all one. And so when we're the holy vessel, we can connect with that presence. But the key, the beautiful paradox of the vessel is it's both empty and full. We are emptying it of all our stuff. When I shifted from trying to fix everything to surrendering, but not surrendering to anything, not just surrendering to race consciousness, not surrendering to concepts, but surrendering to the living presence that is right here with me, in, through, and as me, around me, in me, out, all of it, right here. I surrender to that every day. I make myself empty, an empty vessel, and that's how it transforms us. If I'm full, I can't transform us. So the vessel, that beautiful chalice, is both a container, and it's empty, but it's also full. It's full of everything that the divine presence is. Everything that you could ever want is within that beautiful, sacred, holy chalice. The entire cosmos, what is it Rumi says, the drop isn't in the ocean, the entire ocean is in a drop. Everything is in that golden chalice, in that sacred place within us. And when we remember that this is the place of our transformation, this is our holy grail for us to become fully and completely who we are. Today, you all get a little grail. And this is to remind you that everything is within you. That every one of you is precious. You are a holy, golden, sacred grail of light, of cosmic beauty, of cosmic love, and it's all here. It's all right within us. So please put this in a sacred place in your home to remind you over and over and over and over again that the entire kingdom of heaven, everything that the divine presence is to be found right here. And the beauty of it is that it's always new. And I love the ending of that reading is that it goes on forever. I've had this challenge, and it's a challenge I've been working on for 20 years. And I do a lot of spiritual practices, so I'm praying about them, I'm journaling, I'm reading, I'm exploring, I talk to people. And I feel like I've come at this, I've actually talked to a lot of people, so I've come at it from so many different angles, both from my own inner work, talking to people, but it's still unresolved for me, and it's very upsetting to me. And so the other day, it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was reading this woman, Mother Gravilia, and she suggested this practice, and I did it, and it's so awesome. So I'm offering it to you, recognizing that everything is right here. But generally, the way we look at it is that the kingdom of heaven is within, so we close our eyes and we meditate, we pray, and everything, the cosmos opens up. But I took her practice. She said, well, you can also, you're allowed to use imagination. Imagination isn't the answer, but it's the vehicle to open us up. So just use your imagination, and because remember that it's actually true, that this presence is right here. It's like right out. So rather than always looking in, it was right here, right up here, fully present. And it's there all the time. And so what I found as I was being with that, it felt so intimate. It felt different than it just being inside. It was like touching my skin. Maybe it's because I'm kinesthetic. It was just so present. And here's the beauty of this presence. What we know. So I was going with what I know. It's always new. It's never limited by the past. And here's the big one. Well, it's always new. That's a big one. and is always, 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 always for us. This presence is always for us. It's for you. This presence is for you. And it's right here. And it knows everything about you, and it never leaves you 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's right here. And it is not a passive presence. We talk a lot about presence being an isness, but it's an isness that is active. It is alive. This is how we get to know the living spirit. This is when people say the Holy Spirit, what they're talking about is this energy, the prana, the chi, whatever you want to talk about. It is alive, and it is powerful, and it is always for us. So it's right here, loving us, wanting to give to us, and we have to be that open vehicle, that open vessel to say, yes, 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 I accept. But the key to that is we have to believe. So I had this 20-year thing that I've been working on and gnawing away at and talking about and blah, blah, blah. And I had enough. 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I can't stand it anymore. And I'm reading this process, so I'm just like imagining the presence here, not just within, but right here. And it's loving me. And so I'm saying it to myself, I know you love me. I know you want me to be free. I know you are for me. So I'm telling myself this. I know you are for me. And here's the other thing that's really important that I said already, and I know you're capable of something new. But here's the place where unbelief comes in, because I'm like, there's really not anything new. I mean, I've been thinking about this problem for 20 years. I've talked about it with a lot of people. I've been reading a lot of books. There's nothing new to be said about this problem. I'm very clear about that. If you tell me, and if I started telling people I'd hear all the same stuff I've been hearing over 20 years, blah, 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 blah. So I had to keep saying, okay, heal my unbelief. There must be something new. You're always new. So you love me. You don't want me to stay in this stuck place around this issue. And you're always new, even when it's unbelievable. You're always new. And I accepted it. I said, okay, I accept it. I accept that you have this ability way beyond what I can imagine. Literally, for 20 years, way beyond what I can imagine or think of. But I surrender, and I give it to you. I accept that you love me, and you were going to give me the answer now. Because, that was the other thing. I want the answer now. I don't want it. That's what I was telling the presence. We're having a conversation. I'm like, look, I know you know the answer now. You're not going to know the answer any better in 10 days or 5 years. You know the whole answer now, and I want it now. Make a demand of the universe. It loves it. It's like the little kid, when you have children, and they're like, Mom. And they ask you something, and you just sort of like blow them off. Mom. They just don't stop until they get what they want. And how many times are you like, okay, enough. That's how I picture it. Like, 20 years is enough. I've had enough. Give me the answer. And so I gave it, I accepted it, and I moved on in my day. Because you have to let it go, because first I'm like waiting for the answer. I'm like, that's, nothing's happening. Have to move on with the day. But here's the key about when we move on, when we let go. When we let go, we're not going, okay, I'm letting it go. Now I'm going to get really involved out there. I let it go, but I'm still conscious that the presence is my body. That the only living reality is right where I am. So wherever I go after that, I've let go, but I'm still being conscious of the presence wherever I am. The present, as you know, we can't breathe in the past. We can't breathe in the future. We can only breathe in the present. Our body is in the present. The living spirit is in the presence, and it's where our body is. It's in everybody's body, but I'm going to only know it through my body. So I have to be present. So I let it go, but I stayed present. I was constantly just practicing that presence is right here with me. It's loving me. It's passionately. And the next day, just effortlessly, this whole new answer came. It was extraordinary. It not only gave me a new way to look at this thing that was so healing, to me, just the miracle that it was completely new after 20 years of like pounding away at this thing from all different angles, including spiritually. Suddenly an entirely new thing happened. Spirit is infinite. There's infinite possibilities. The kingdom of heaven is within us. It has all of our answers now. Not just in 10 years, not just when everything is perfect. Just a little sidelight, just gonna, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's something I've thought about before. I was reading from a an article by a male spiritual teacher, and he said one of the limitations that he found with some women on the process is they always felt they had to be perfect before they could really step out in the world. And he said, we don't have to be perfect. When I'm talking about we're a holy grail, this is not about a holy grail that holds only perfection. It holds all of our faults, all of our limitations, all of our fear, that's how it transforms it. If it was rejecting that part of us, we would never be transformed. So it holds, this beautiful golden chalice can hold everything and transform everything, but we have to ask. And sometimes we have to ask with a lot of intensity and a lot of intention to get the answer. And so notice, do you believe an answer is even possible? Because that's the shift that happened with me is I didn't really believe that an answer was possible, so I had to let that go. I had to heal that. But this presence, this is also important because it's always for us. Everything of the universe, all the power, the beauty, the harmony, the abundance, the joy, the love, the peace, the creative expression, the fulfillment, the intimacy, and the freedom, all of it right here within us. And we get to be the ones to access it, to acknowledge its existence. We get to walk through our day, every day, to be transformed by this light beyond anything we could possibly imagine. Does that sound good for you? Yeah. That's what we're doing here at the Lighthouse. We're allowing this presence and this power within us to transform each and every one of us, and that this is an ongoing process, and it can be a challenging process. And so we support each other as we go through these changes, and sometimes we need to withdraw, sometimes we need to have a little conflict. But all of it is in support of this unfolding transformation that's happening within us. And that's what's been happening, I believe, in this Lighthouse community, and I believe that's what we are growing into, that this process of transformation, of allowing the divine presence to all of us be this individual vessel, but also a golden chalice that is at the heart of this community, to open ourselves up and to say, God first. This divine presence, this infinite love intelligence, it is guiding and directing us so we become this extraordinary community, continue to become an extraordinary community that serves our community, that serves our own personal life, our families, our community, the Bay Area, this country, this world, and the cosmos. There's no limit because it's all right here. So with that, I'd like to end this talk a little bit differently. Usually I go into prayer, but you know what? We're going to all do the prayer today. So for those of you who feel comfortable, stand, but if you feel comfortable, please stay seated. But if you feel comfortable, stand, just to get the energy going. But if you can sit and keep the energy going, that's totally wonderful and beautiful, because we are a community of many beautiful, radiant beings and bodies. And you can pray any way that is in your heart. But the only thing that I'm asking you to pray for yourself, pray for your family, pray for this community, pray for this world, whatever comes, we're all going to pray simultaneously, okay? And I'm going to move the microphone so I'm not dominating the sound. The only thing that I invite you to be with, so if you want the presence, you're praying to the presence within, or maybe a presence here, but to be conscious that it's here. It's not happening out there. It's happening right here. The prayer is happening right here, because this is everything. When we connect with this, we are now connected with the entire cosmos. So we connect with the cosmos out there through right here, and pray to whatever you believe. So when you start praying, if you start saying something and you don't really believe it, that's totally fine. Just acknowledge that and surrender and say, well, I don't know what I believe in that. Like, let it be an authentic prayer. But I do believe this, or I want to believe this. I step into believing this. But allow yourself to stretch as much as you can in this prayer to go beyond maybe just a little bit of what you think you believe. So it's not just praying what we already know, but stretch a little in this prayer, because all of us will be praying at the same time. So there's going to be an energy in this room that will help us stretch a little bit beyond what we might even believe is possible. Okay? Y'all ready? This is the Lighthouse Community Sunday Prayer. So For those of us in our teaching, we usually start, there's one power and one presence, but you can start any way you want. We're just going to begin. There is only one power and one presence. Thank you, Divine Presence, for saying yes and being for all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
I walk in God in all I do. I walk in God in all